So ever since we learned about Iron Trials Rebirth a few weeks ago for Season 2 of Vanguard, I've been hyping it up, trying to say that this is going to be extremely fun, because obviously I am somebody who plays Rebirth quite a lot with my friends, and I was really looking forward to it, despite it being duos. And the other day, I actually got an opportunity to play Iron Trials duos with one of my friends, because obviously at the moment it is duos, and I have to say, Iron Trials is the future of Warzone. Like, there's no other way about it. This needs to be the standard for Warzone 2, or even just the future of this Warzone. Like, it needs to be a permanent mode in some capacity. Unfortunately, I didn't get an opportunity to play Iron Trials when it first released. I think it was on Verdansk, but I remember hearing all the rave about it. Everyone saying that, you know, this is an incredible mode. It needs to be permanent. And Raven said that we're going to take the feedback from that mode, and they were going to start applying it to the standard battle royale if it did well and, you know, people liked it. And then they just removed it for however many months now, maybe even over a year, I'm not too sure. My only complaint with Iron Trials at the moment is the fact that it's only duos. I think playing duos compared to quads on any sort of battle royale game isn't as fun. I prefer playing in a quad. I prefer having more people, not only, you know, because it makes the sort of gameplay experience better, but you have more friends to play with. I just think it's more enjoyable. So that's my only complaint with Iron Trials at the moment, but everything about it, from, well, the main point for me is the increased time to kill. It's the perfect balance between actually having a skill gap between good players and bad players, but it's not long enough where you feel like you're shooting them for an eternity. I think it's pretty much a perfect time to kill, and I hope Warzone 2 applies this. I personally think it should be in the original Warzone, but obviously they're not going to do that yet. Another thing as well is with the loadouts. Obviously they're 10k and you don't get a free one. I personally am not sure how I feel about this at the moment. I don't think it's a terrible change, because obviously you can still get your loadouts, but at the same time I don't think it's a great change, because I feel like loadouts is sort of the identity of Warzone, and limiting that, as we saw in the original Battle Royale, is not always well received. But at the same time, we need to sort of remember that it is a battle royale. Battle royales are pretty much completely RNG based. There is a certain level of skill, you know, with Fortnite and, you know, PUBG and all those other ones. They didn't even have loadouts back then. You had to completely rely on RNG to be able to get decent weaponry, but Warzone is the only one where you can actually choose your weapons. So I think people need to remember that it is a battle royale. It is pretty RNG based. I sort of like that about Warzone. Like, I like being able to choose my loadouts and choose what I want, because then once again that increases the skill gap. If people know what weapons to use, what setups to use, compared to people who don't, then they're going to have an advantage. So I'm not saying that I dislike the fact that loadouts are less popular. I'm not saying that I like the fact. It just is, you know. I don't hate or like it. It's just the way it is, to be honest. There isn't really any other way around it. One thing I noticed as well, I don't know if this is actually a change or just my terrible luck in the one game we played, but I noticed a lot more grey and green weapons on the floor. It seemed like there were a lot less high-end loot weapons in the ground loot. Now, I'm not sure, once again, if that's just me and I just got incredibly unlucky, but I also sort of like this change, because I feel like a lot of the times in Warzone when I play it, a lot of my enemies seem to land on like purple MP40s and, you know, gold Brens, whatever, and I seem to land on sniper rifles. So sort of reducing the likelihood that people get better things is sort of good. Once again, it sort of makes the RNG thing a lot better, but I do also think the ground loot of Warzone has been pretty shit for a long amount of time. I think the fact that snipers and LMGs and all that are in ground loot is ridiculous. It should just pretty much be like assault rifles, SMGs, pistols, you know, weapons that are a lot more usable. I suppose LMGs could go in there as well, but things like sniper rifles and marksman rifles, in my opinion, just shouldn't be in the ground loot, because if you land on a sniper rifle, someone lands on an assault rifle, what are you supposed to do? Like, I get that's the RNG, but it's once again this thing with the RNG in Warzone. Do we make it more RNG based, like a traditional battle royale? See, the worries I have with that, where we sort of take away the RNG from Warzone, is that it sort of starts becoming the same games over and over and over again. Like, you land on a MP40 or a Sten or an STG or something, you get a few kills, you get your loadout, which you choose every game, and then you go ahead and win, or you don't get the win or whatever. I don't know if that's really a good thing, because it sort of makes every game the same. If you have, you know, variety in your game where you can't get your loadout as often, or, you know, the ground loot is not as good as it usually is, or, you know, there's a lot more variety in the ground loot, it adds different experiences each games, and it keeps the game feeding fresh. So there is a bit of a worry there, but at the same time, it's sort of like battle royale, like core gameplay is very sort of, it's RNG enough base in terms of like positioning and circles and everything like that, where you can have the same weapons every game, but you're fighting different enemies in different locations and you end up at different locations. So it is RNG based enough where the game feels fresh. I don't know personally, I don't know the answer to whether we keep it more RNG based or less. You know, it just depends on personal preference. But another thing I want to talk about is the absence of things like Dead Silence, and I think Nebula rounds aren't in the game. I don't really know, who cares about them. And, you know, things like Stopping Power, whatever, you know, the OP sort of broken stuff in ground loot is sort of removed as well. I know Stopping Power was removed ages ago, I don't know why I said that, but I like the fact that Dead Silence isn't in the game. I personally think it just shouldn't be in the game at all. I used to like Dead Silence, where, you know, you pick it up, you go on your really cool flank with your Dead Silence, you get the jump on them, and it does add a good gameplay element, but at the same time, it's once again the debate about RNG. I keep coming back to it. A few more things I want to touch on before we end this video. The first one is the specialist token and buy stations in general. Buy station prices across the board are increased, but the main one I want to talk about is the specialist token, which is 30k. But you're not going to find 30k in a match. If you do, you are incredibly lucky, or you push a lot of people, get a lot of kills, and either way, you deserve that specialist token. So I think it's sort of a thing to progress for, a thing to strive for. If you get 30k for a specialist token, then you have done well. They also have the Gulag in Iron Trials. Now, because we're so good, we never got sent to the Gulag, so I can't personally describe from experience, but I know that, you know, things like no shotguns, no akimbo weapons, no tactical equipment, you know, it sort of makes it a lot more skill based as opposed to just like, you know, RNG once again, which I really like. There's a few things like stun grenade effect duration is decreased by 50%, the regeneration rate is decreased by 50% for medical syringes, or stims as they used to be called. And also with sniper rifles, you can't get a single headshot kill beyond 30 meters, which I suppose I really like, but at the same time, that sort of ruins snipers. Like, what's the point in running a sniper if you can't get a one-hit headshot? You know, I don't really see the point in that, but at the same time, if you've got, what, 400 health and you can just one-shot people across the map, that is sort of broken. And the final thing is you get this cool calling card, which I'm going to show on screen, which obviously we got because, you know, we're insane. I really like this calling card. I'm going to be running this from now on. I think it's just a really cool looking calling card. Not the biggest thing ever, but I just like the look of it. But that's going to do it for today's video. I just wanted to talk about Rebirth Iron Trials and just Iron Trials in general. I think this is genuinely what standard Warzone should be. Probably not for the rest of this Warzone, but I think for Warzone 2, this is pretty much the standard that it has to be at for it to carry on being popular. But that's all I got for today, so thank you guys very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like and also subscribe if you're around here. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.